Hi, this is Tanya Sorensen, and please forgive, I'm just getting over getting my voice back from a cold. I didn't want to do a PowerPoint. I wanted just kind of to talk to you with my notes. I thought it might be more interesting. So here I am. And the paper topic I chose is Overcoming Barriers for International Students. And I looked at it from the national level, the university college level, finances, faculty and staff issues, classes, and student well-being, which was the most important, so that's the one I'm going to talk about last. First of all, what I found was, it's been very fascinating all quarter. At the national level, visas are a big problem. Post 9/11, according to Scott 2007, the student must show an intent to return to their home country, which is actually seen as a decrease in international competitiveness in business and industry here in the U.S. Because we can't keep them after we have educated them. Students have a very difficult time because they cannot get green cards and cannot have part-time jobs often. We are lacking at websites, colleges that culturally adapt to a target country. And TESOL and other tests are not necessarily accurate to the students' needs. They find that out when they get here. And finally, Scott also says that the cost of U.S. education is the second highest in the world, with only Australia being higher. So our next segment is navigating the university or the college, and Gartman in 2016 found that students really need one-on-one assistance and repeated orientations. That initial orientation is it's a data dump, and they need to hear it again. It's too much info. They need positive social experiences, tutoring support, especially in English. Several authors found that. Very limited orientation courses, a college success type of course for international students to help them with study skills, etc., especially undergraduate students, Yan and Sandel found in 2016. They also found it's difficult for our international students to get help with career and major decisions, majors, things like that. And then finally, Robinson, Forster, and Powell found an answer to some of the barriers, and that is that the college should require a residential weekend with mandatory participative activities in multicultural groups. Students found this hugely beneficial. The international students did when they got to be in this weekend kind of cohort thing. Our next issue is finances. Now, as we talked in our discussion boards this quarter, we kind of didn't talk much about the impact of finances on students. And Brewer in 2004 and Gartman again in 2016 both found finances are one of the top 3 problems students face because they can't work, no scholarship, they're not eligible for scholarships, no tuition discounts, obviously, and often no living allowances. They have some problems. So that is a much bigger issue than I had realized. And on to faculty and staff. The highlights here are Skim and McGee in 2016 found that the faculty are highly unprepared in a survey of different colleges. No professional or limited professional development opportunities for faculty to learn how to be successful with international students. And Leon, too, augmented that, finding the role of faculty is just critical to international student success. Gartman found faculty and staff really need increased cultural awareness, ability to explain metaphors and Americanisms, and to learn to speak slowly when they are facing an international student. Skim and McGee found a barrier is that staff and faculty claim they don't have time to learn intercultural skills and are overwhelmed when the institution increases international students, as my institution is looking to do. Faculty that were found to be the least amenable to language challenges definitely had the highest dropout rates, and several authors agreed the need for learner-centered instruction that prepares all students for a globalized world. What a surprise in our class, right? On to classes. A question for faculty that needs to be determined, according to Brewer, is to determine how to assess fairly when English is the second language, especially in English writing classes, as you all know, since I put that out there. The need to increase experiential learning in the classroom was found by several of the authors, including Brewer and Yan and Sandel in 2016. Best practice is to internationalize the entire curriculum. Beelan in 2011 wants us to raise all students' awareness by incorporating that into curriculum across the institution. I like that idea. Beelan also suggested creating an iBest model for classes with high international populations. Now, if you don't know what iBest is, in an iBest class, we have two instructors. We have the content instructor, say a math instructor or for that matter, a welding instructor. There's another instructor in the classroom who is there only to help them with their math, reading, and writing skills. It's turned out to be an extremely effective model for DevEd, and states are giving higher allotments to the public schools that are actually using this model, higher FTE allotments back. And then to note, just interesting, Yan and Sandel found that discussions on religion makes international students feel very isolated. They don't have an understanding of other religions or any religion, if in the case of, for instance, often Chinese students. Now, the final thing I wanted to talk about was student well-being, and this is particularly important because the dropout rates appeared from my research to often be related to the student's emotional well-being, and that includes trouble finding a life-school balance, which seems to be very important for Russian and Chinese students. Baklashova and Kazakov for the Russian 2016, Presbytero and Redfern, both 2016, found this. The Russian students, same authors, also found culture shock can cause depression among Russian students. And Yan and Sandel noticed that making friends and building relationships very difficult for the foreign students. So Yan and Sandel are suggesting an action, a warranted action there would be that they need an upper class mentor to help them with these things. Now, regarding mental health, not just wellness and well-being, but mental health, this is actually a much more common and serious issue among international students than I realized, and it's going unrecognized. Depression is not uncommon among international students. Chinese were the ones particularly studied, and it is not uncommon. Now, Lu, Chen, Li, Yu, and Yan of 2015 found this, but Redfern also found that Chinese students are much more likely to feel moderate to severe stress, where American students are feeling none to moderate. And the Chinese students say academics, number one, family and life balance top the issues, finances in there too. Chinese students, though, and this is a very important thing to know, will not admit to depression, anxiety, or other mental health issues. They will state they are having a physical health problem and need a doctor. They have a stomach ache. They have a headache. Chinese doctors understand this and probe for it, understanding that cultural stigma in admitting mental illness. American doctors, of course, are probably not versed in this, and Redfern notes a clear need to have us, whoever is shepherding the students, be aware of this, to talk with healthcare providers. Self-confidence turns out to be, in several studies, including Lu Chen, Li, Lu, and others et al., 2015, and Harai, Fraser, and Syed in 2015, that self-confidence is the mediating factor between cultural stressors causing depression and language stressors and depression. Some of the other stressors were identity threat, opportunity deprivation, value conflicts, rejection, and homesickness. Academic stressors, again and again, very high on the list, and language was cited as the chief problem. Teaching methods also rated highly. They need more experiential, they need more interaction than just lecture. And it turns out the more control the student felt over academic stressors, the less likely to experience depression, Harai, Fraser, and Syed found. And that is interesting to me, that something that I can look to help as we increase our international students, to help them understand where the tutoring center is, who's available to help, how to get help, that they have the right to get help, things like that. So finally, I had no idea student mental health and depression was such a big deal. So I really wanted to concentrate on how to help that. And it turns out that a sense of connectedness with Americans seems to be the biggest protection for depression among international students, and not just Chinese. And international students, when they are trained, when they get here or before they come, to reframe negative experiences to positive thoughts. For instance, yes, that person just may have been discriminatory towards me, but overall, I have certainly had positive experiences here in this host country, that kind of thing. And they are much more likely to maintain mental wellness and not have depression or other problems. So that's just a highlight of the things that I have found out. Thank you all for this class together. It has been a joy. Bye.